Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. My name is Emily and I'm a counselor here at Williamsville. And today I have joining me.
Hi, I am Melody. I'm one of the therapists here at Williamsville, and it is a pleasure to be doing this podcast today.
Yes, thank you, Melody. So today our topic, guys, is going to be on DBT, which stands for Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. This is an area that Melody focuses on a lot in sessions with our clients here. So we're just going to pick her brain about what DBT is.
Oh, great.
Melody, share with us a little bit about DBT. What is it? What is it?
Yeah, that's one of the questions like a lot of the clients have here when I start with them. They see it on their schedule like, oh, DBT, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very complex. So I kind of keep it very simple with them. Fun fact, it's founded and created by Marsha Linehan.
Mm-hmm.
She has a huge book about it. She has a lot of webinars about it.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's kind of like a cognitive based type of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was created originally for clients and people that are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and I learned something the other day. But yes, it was created originally for people that had BPD, and for clients that, and with BPD, one of the symptoms is like suicidal gestures and thoughts. So it really helps with clients that are that struggle with suicidality as well. And it helps clients with maintain relationships and also help them regulate their emotions. So it's really, really good for people and clients that struggle with just regulating their emotions and struggle with like maintaining healthy relationships. Thus a lot of the symptoms with BPD as well.
Yeah. And we know too with addiction and then withdrawing, coming out of being an active addiction, entering into new recovery, emotions are all over the place because whatever it was I was using, if I was gambling or if I was drinking, mainly big part of the purpose was either to numb every emotion or to achieve an emotion that I viewed as more acceptable: power, control, anger, euphoria, whatever. So I either have no emotions or I have an excess of just this particular one that I like. And now I have none of the stuff that helped me to achieve that or numb that. So now I have no idea what to do about my emotions. So when I'm new in recovery, DBT is a pretty helpful skill, I would say, for that, specifically regulating emotions.
Yeah, like definitely. It helps, like, because when they've been in active addiction, like you said, they numb out all their feelings, they stuff them down, and then now they're here at Williamsville treatment. They're no longer using. Some of them really struggle with just like a couple of pause symptoms and stuff. Yeah. So when they feel those emotions, they become so overwhelming. They're just like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this emotion? And DBT is really good with that mindfulness piece of like stopping them, pausing, bringing awareness to the emotion, and also being non-judgmental with their emotions.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about mindfulness? I think that's something, correct me if I'm wrong, mindfulness started with DBT, right?
Yes, it did. So mindfulness, it started with DBT, and that's one of the they call it core mindfulness in DBT. And sometimes some people shorten it for just mindfulness. But Marsha Linehan, she called it core mindfulness. And she called it core mindfulness because it's the ground base of DBT. Yeah. Being present. Yes. Bringing awareness to your emotions, and also dealing with your emotions. And by that, she means bringing that awareness to my body. What's coming to my mind when I think of anxiety or depression. So that mindfulness piece is so, so important. And that's something that we really, really focus here at Williamsville about that mindfulness piece, because that's how we bring awareness non-judgmentally to our emotions.
Yeah, that connection of mind-body, knowing what's going on in my body and in my mind, and the presence, and just being able to sit with that, because that is when I'm using, I'm not sitting with the array of emotions that I experience. I'm numbing them, or I'm, clinging to one in excess, one that I like more. So now this new experience of knowing what the emotion is and then being in it is really difficult to kind of get in that headspace. When you say non-judgmental, Can you expand on exactly how we can tap into that part?
Yeah.
How do we non-judgmentally, be with ourselves, be with our emotions?
Yeah, so it's interesting because DBT has something within the mindfulness skill. They have something called what skills and like how skills.
Okay.
So the what skills are about that, all right, observing, participating, bringing that awareness. And the how skills are about how do I be non-judgmental.
Yeah.
So I love those skills because they help us like, okay, what do I do with this emotion, right?
Yeah.
I observe it, I participate in it, I bring awareness to it. Yeah. Then the how part is about like, I've already identified it. Mm-hmm. I feel this emotion in this parts of my body. Now I'm being non-judgmental. And that non-judgmental is like, instead if I feel anxiety or if I feel depression, I don't beat myself up about like, yes, oh, I'm depressed again. Why do I feel this way? What's wrong with me? That would be really, really judgmental. Whereas like I always tell clients when I'm with them, all right, what do you feel? I feel depressed. I feel anxious. I feel sad. I tell them like, okay, well, let's explore that. Mm-hmm. What does it feel like to feel sad? How does your body feel? Mm-hmm. What comes up? What triggers sadness? Whereas like, let's not immediately try to like push this emotion away and make ourselves feel bad about feeling sad, depressed, right, or whatever it is. So that non-judgmental piece is just like, let me be curious about how I feel rather than like beat myself up and bring shame onto myself.
Yes. And sometimes that like fixation on the why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way again, like you were alluding to, is what's so shaming. I'm so obsessed with thinking I have to justify, explain, give reason to my emotion. I need to know where it's coming from. Why is it coming up? What is all this? And sometimes we can confuse that with the curiosity that you're talking about, but that is more shaming than it is helpful because emotions aren't always logical. There isn't always an explanation. I'm not always going to know why, but I can ask myself what and how questions, and that is more non-judgmental than this interrogation of why. Like, that some things aren't explainable. That's the simplest way I can put it. It's just not explainable sometimes.
Yes. And that's something I told like the clients too here, like when I do DBT groups and I start introducing emotions to them, what they are, and they're like, well, it doesn't have to be a why do I feel this way. I'm like, no. You can wake up and feel depressed. You can wake up and feel happy. You can go throughout the day and feel so many different emotions for so many different reasons. Mm-hmm. And there doesn't have to be a why. The most important thing is about what we do with that emotion.
Yes. And so kind of streamlining into then all the skills that are in DBT, because there are so many. What would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind about utilizing DBT-based skills? And maybe if you want to give an example of a couple of the skills that you either give to our clients or that you even find most helpful for yourself.
Yes, I definitely have to say the core mindfulness is like my bread and butter. That's the first thing I introduce to clients because they come in anxious, worried, shame, all of that. So let's do some mindfulness. Let's get in touch with that. I definitely start off with that. I love within mindfulness, there's the wise mind skill. I love that skill. I do a group on that one here. The wise mind skill it uses the what and how skills, of course. And it also looks at we have 3 states of mind we think about things from. Rational mind, emotional mind, and also the wise mind. And the idea is we want them to walk the middle pathway of the wise mind skill. So I love that skill. The other skills I read, there's so many, and I love all of them equally.
It's hard to choose.
But I have to say the interpersonal effectiveness skills, the communication, because within recovery, with our clients here, they need relationships to help them along in their recovery. Mm-hmm. So improving the relationship, maintaining the relationship, teaching them how to communicate boundaries and what they need. Because oftentimes they struggle with that when they come in of like not knowing how to set boundaries. What do I need in a relationship? With family, friends, romantic partners, even people in recovery that they meet. So that's one of the skills. I usually teach Dear Man. DBT has so many acronyms as well. So I usually do Dear Man. I start with that one. Another one that I really like is the please skill. It's an emotional regulation skill. It brings the reason why I love this skill in like Williamsville is very like really holistic as well. So I love that skill because it helps clients with bringing awareness to all aspects of their body, mind, self-care, their whole well-being. So that's why I love that skill. It's really helpful.
Will you go in depth about the police one a little bit? Can we do it? Tell us more about the police skill.
Yes. So the police skill, it's an acronym, of course. It starts off with treat physical illness. That means what do I physically feel right now? Like, do I need to take a shower? Am I down?
Am I hungry?
Do I need to take my meds? Like that type of stuff. The treat physical illness, then there is the eat a balanced meal, like, cutting, like, if you want to cut out sweets, or if you want to drink more water, if you need to eat, if you have high cholesterol, eating stuff that doesn't elevate that. And then there's avoid mood altering drugs. So we talk to them about like, all right, we know that we shouldn't be gambling, we shouldn't be using drugs, alcohol, and I also say add any other addictive behaviors. Codependency can be an addictive behavior, like hopping from relationship to relationship. And then I asked them a question like, why should you avoid these mood altering drugs? And that kind of helps them look at their motivation for change as well. Yeah, it really, really helps with that. And then after the avoid mood altering drugs, there is sleep. Sleep is where let's look at how we are sleeping. And some people realize, oh, I'm sleeping terrible. Or like, oh, I need to talk to my psychiatrist more about like, well, I'm not sleeping well. So having a sleep regimen of like, how do I get ready to go to bed? What do I need to do? That helps a lot of clients look at their routine. And then, of course, the last E is exercise. A part of Williamsville is like we do a lot of holistic things like mindfulness walks. They go to the gym. They get them interactive like with those things. So I tell them like, hey, you don't have to do this rigorous exercise. Or like, what can you do to get your body moving and get that healthy dopamine feeling from exercise? So I love that skill because it covers like everything.
I like the holistic nature of a lot of what DBT does, but the police skills specifically, because most of those things that are in the acronym are in our hierarchy of needs satisfying like the lowest level, and if I don't satisfy that, I can't move further up the pyramid. So I have to be paying attention to my physical state. Am I hungry? Am I sleeping enough? Am I moving my body? Am I using things that mood alter and like physically alter my ability to change or engage in positive activities? And that's something that is so important, just as much as maybe the deeper trauma work. I have to be doing all of this stuff in addition to that, or I'm never going to access the deeper levels. What kind of turned you on to DBT? What got you interested in DBT?
Wow, that's such a hard question, but that's a really hard question because I remember going through grad school and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be doing CBT and I'm gonna be doing family systems, and I still love doing family systems. I think what really got me into DBT was looking at the research behind it and how research based it is, how evidence based it is. I love that. I know we don't do this here, but when we do our aftercare recommendations, clients that do DBT groups, the DBT groups are really important because it gets them interactive with other people. What really pulled me towards it was how the mindfulness, I think. That's so important, and just looking at how it helps clients with every aspect of their life. It's really based in real time and looking at triggers, which is life. So
yeah,
it helps them it covers all of that.
Right. Yeah. And mindfulness is so like simple by nature, but one of the hardest things I think for people to do. So just the emphasis on that with DBT is so important for our clients. If you were to explain mindfulness, like what, if you were to explain a very simple mindfulness skill to somebody who would be brand new to all of this, has never been mindful or present a day in their life, what would be a skill you would like encourage them to implement to introduce them to this?
Yes. I always start off with the what skill with observe.
Yeah.
And then the stop skill. Those two.
Explain that. Explain stop.
Yes. So that's
that here.
Yes, the stop skill is the best one. So stop skill is first stop. Literally stop. Don't even do anything.
Don't stop. Don't move. Stop what you're doing. Halt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take a step back. Take a step back by like, all right, let me pause before I react. Let me think about everything. Yeah. Observe. I love that one. Yeah. Observe means like observe what's happening within my body. What's happening in my environment. What are other people doing around me? Yeah. Where am I even? Like taking a personal inventory almost of anything and everything that's around you in the moment. Yes. Yes. And then favorite part of the skill, proceed mindfully. Yes. And that I always emphasize the proceed mindfully. It's like, all right, instead of being impulsive, mindfully, how am I going to react? Yeah. Yeah. And that helps them kind of like, oh. Yeah. Okay, that helps a lot. Yeah. Sometimes I think people almost need like a permission to stop, right? Like we live in a society where things are really fast paced and very impulsive, especially if we're looking at gambling addiction. It's so impulsive. So I don't even realize that I can like create space for myself to just pause before I do. Like I do have choice in this matter, but I absolve myself of the opportunity to engage in my choice when I'm impulsive. But when I stop and go through those steps, take the personal inventory, choose to proceed mindfully, like that's me engaging in my choice, which with addiction, you know, that is something that we're trying to teach people or get people to see is like you do have choice, but you have to have space to have choice. And stop is about space, like you're saying. Yeah. Yes, and that's why I like the stop, the mindfulness, because like you have to create the space to bring awareness to those things. And I always tell the clients here, like bringing awareness to how you feel and what's happening is the most powerful skill that you could have. Yes. And honoring it, you know, not like you were saying earlier, we don't need to avoid these emotions. We can not judgmentally allow them to just exist. The more I try to change them, the more they are controlling me. Yeah. And if what I'm after is control over my emotions, by acknowledging that they're real and that they're there, I get the thing I'm after. I get the choice, the control. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that the clients here can, when they gain that insight and they feel like, oh, I have this skill to do these things now. Yeah. And they don't have to remain in this powerlessness and like that. That first they were like, we were powerless. Yeah. And that's the past sense that you accept the how part of everything. Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me and Melody chat today about DBT. We will see you next time. Yes. Bye. Bye.